Imagine waking up to a beautiful sun-drenched balcony and thinking your life is a literal dream. But for our girl Zhan Chuyi, the morning vibes are a little less zen and a lot more chaotic cat parent. Enough, Zhan Meow, how much longer are you going to keep fighting? She groans, staring at her phone while her orange furball loses its mind. You see, her cat Zhan Meow is currently engaged in a high-stakes standoff with the neighbor's cat through the glass door. Our poor heroine finally drags herself up, looking like she needs 10 years of sleep and a gallon of coffee. I don't understand, you're usually so timid, she sighs. Why are you suddenly so persistent? You can't even hit the other cat. She scoops up the grumpy orange nugget, trying to talk some sense into him. How about Mama invites the cat next door over to play? She teases, but Zhan Meow just lets out a pathetic meow. Chuyi can't help but smirk, ha, scaredy cat. But then she notices the neighbor's cat staring back with those big judging eyes. Ha, Chuyi blinks as the light shifts. Suddenly, the flowers on the balcony seem to bloom even brighter as a figure appears. It's her new neighbor and she is, wait for it, absolutely stunning. Our heroine is literally floored by the visual attack. Naturally, like any of us with a juicy secret, Chuyi hops straight onto social media to spill the tea. Her phone starts blowing up immediately with 30 new notifications. The internet detectives are already on the case, whispering that whoever made the post must be loaded. The poster already gave us the answer. One comment reads, "It's obviously Chen Xinyu." Chuyi's eyes go wide as she realizes, I've been discovered. She looks back at the gorgeous woman next door, the famous Chen Xinyu, who looks even better in person than in her high-def movies. She really is prettier than she is online, Chuyi muses, feeling a bit of a swoon coming on. But the peace is shattered by a ding-dong. At the door, it's a visitor named Fu Tianren. A cute little robot rolls up to serve some orange juice, making Fu wonder if Chuyi's tech department has been working overtime. Fu Tianren, Chuyi's assistant, starts laying on the flattery thick, calling Chuyi the legendary granddaughter of the Xingu Group chairman. But Chuyi knows this girl isn't here just to praise her. Get to the point, Fu Tianren, she snaps. The assistant's face falls as she drops the ultimate nightmare. The company only has around 200,000 yuan left in its bank account. Again, Chuyi screams, didn't we just receive funds last month? Fu clenches her fists, blaming the R&D department for producing absolute trash that doesn't sell. Miss Chuyi, please show us some mercy, the assistant wails, begging for a miracle. Our savage but soft-hearted CEO can't stand the crying. Stop, transfer 6 million yuan from my personal account as a loan, she commands. Fu Tianren immediately turns into a happy chibai and tackles Chuyi in a hug. But once the assistant leaves, the reality of the situation sinks in. The company is struggling because wealthy customers only want big, reputable brands. Chuyi clutches her head in stress while Fu celebrates the incoming cash in the background. The brand just isn't taking off, Chuyi laments. Suddenly, a light bulb goes off. Wait, famous neighbor, she gasps. She looks at her assistant, who is secretly Chen Xinyu's biggest fan. Tell me, what is she up to these days? Chuyi demands, cornering the poor girl. Fu Tianren trembles, wondering how her boss knew about her secret obsession. Who's Chen Xinyu? I don't know her, she lies through her teeth. Stop pretending, you're always looking at her magazines at work. Chuyi roars, shaking a literal voodoo doll of her assistant. She leans in with an icy, savage smile. Tell me or else I'll dock your pay. That does the trick. Fu spills everything. She's filming a reality TV show about the daily lives of celebrities at home. Chuyi's eyes literally turn into gold coins. If I can build a relationship with that big celebrity and place our products in her house, she realizes, wouldn't that be free advertising when the show airs? Our heroine has a plan, a gorgeous neighbor, and a whole lot of ambition. But can she actually pull off this chaotic marketing scheme? Our girl is already dreaming of sales performance soaring like a rocket, thanks to some clever influencer marketing. Let's go bring some warmth to the new neighbor, she cheers, practically shoving her poor assistant toward the door. Of course, they can't even make it down the hall without bickering over who tied the housewarming gifts bow so poorly. When the neighbor's door opens automatically, they're met by Zhang Dan, a sharp-looking woman who introduces herself as a top-tier celebrity manager. Our heroine's assistant is starstruck, but the mood shifts fast when Zhang Dan mentions she saw their cats interacting earlier. The manager wastes no time, proposing they use a cat fight as a cheap gimmick to boost viewership for an upcoming reality show. Zhan Chuyi isn't having any of it. What a great offer, don't ever propose it again, she snaps, slamming the door right in the manager's face. She is absolutely fuming that anyone would treat a pet's safety like a joke for a few clicks. Her assistant tries to play peacemaker, suggesting that maybe the manager just doesn't understand cats. But Zhan Chuyi is done. She was going to give them a high-end litter box, but now they get nothing. Suddenly, the doorbell rings again. Zhan Chuyi opens it, ready for round 2, but she freezes. Standing there is the neighbor herself, Chen Xinyu, and she is breathtaking. I just want to stop by and say hello, the goddess says, holding out a box of delicious pastries. Zhan Chuyi's anger melts instantly as she accepts the gift, her heart doing actual backflips. One dazzling smile from Xinyu is enough to send our heroine into a total daze. Her assistant realizes she's a third wheel to a literal goddess and makes a run for it, claiming she has business to take care of. Left alone, Zhan Chuyi invites her neighbor in and finally introduces herself properly. Xinyu is nothing like her manager. She's soft-spoken and immediately apologizes for the earlier misunderstanding. She explains that the film crew is coming to install cameras, and she just wanted to ask permission in case the cats naturally ended up on screen together. Realizing Xinyu isn't a villain, Zhan Chuyi agrees, as long as no one is forcing the animals to fight. Xinyu is overjoyed, thanking her with a look so pure it nearly kills our poor heroine on the spot. But don't think Zhan Chuyi has lost her edge entirely. As she looks at her beautiful neighbor, her CEO brain starts ticking. If she's not a bad person, then the advertisement can be done for free, she realizes, already plotting to fill the entire house with her company's products before the cameras arrive. She's ready to girlboss her way to a fortune, but then Xinyu throws a curveball, inviting her to a private party the very next night. Zhan Chuyi is pondering the perfect gift for her new neighbor's housewarming party. What should I gift? She wonders, looking at her various feline-themed options. She settles on a high-tech litter box, but her attention is quickly diverted to the balcony. Through the glass, she spots Chen Xinyu struggling to build a massive cat tree all by herself. Poor Kingshin, the cat, looks like he's about to have a heart attack on the wobbly structure. Be careful, our girl shouts, forgetting for a second that Chen Xinyu can't hear her through the soundproof glass. A quick text message notification later, and Chen Xinyu is checking her phone to see a sweet offer for help. Zhan Chuyi even sends a cheeky sticker of her own cat to lighten the mood. Zhan Chuyi shows up at the secret glass door, cat in hand, with a smile that says she's ready to save the day. Chen Xinyu can't help but think her neighbor looks exactly like her cat. As she invites her in, she points toward the main entrance, but our girl has a better idea. She places her hand on the glass, and with a quick buzz, the secret partition opens right up. Chen Xinyu is absolutely floored. That was actually a door, she gasps in disbelief. Zhan Chuyi explains that the previous owner was her coworker, and having the door made it convenient to catch her working overtime. Chen Xinyu is annoyed that her real estate agent didn't mention a secret entrance to her neighbor's place. You could take legal action against him for concealing important information, Zhan Chuyi suggests, being the business-minded queen she is. But for now, they have more important things to do, like finishing that cat tree. It's time for Zhan Chuyi to show off her amazing handyman skills. The two of them get to work, hammering and twisting parts together while Kingshin watches from the sidelines. Our girl is surprisingly good at this, taking the lead on the construction. Finally, with a satisfied clap of her hands, the masterpiece is finished. Chen Xinyu is beyond impressed. Chuyi is so amazing, I bet Kingshin is gonna love it, she cheers. Kingshin immediately leaps onto his new throne, proving he isn't shy at all. Chen Xinyu laughs, mentioning that the little fella even knows how to fake accidents for attention. Zhan Chuyi assumes the name Kingshin is some poetic reference to glowworms, but Chen Xinyu corrects her. It turns out it's the name of the female lead she played in a drama series called Green Peaches Under the Fans. She found the cat on the night of the celebration dinner and felt it was fate. Does that mean Kingshin is a girl? Zhan Chuyi asks, looking at the cute kitty. She starts teasing the cat with her finger, only for Chen Xinyu to reveal that Kingshin is actually a little boy. Our girl is totally confused. Why give a boy cat a girl's name? Chen Xinyu smiles softly, explaining that the role of Kingshin was the most memorable part of her career. We get a glimpse of her in character, looking absolutely ethereal in traditional robes. Now that the tree is done, Chen Xinyu officially invites her over for the party, telling her to just dress casually for a home-cooked meal. Zhan Chuyi rushes back to her place to grab her gift. She rings the doorbell and is welcomed inside. She proudly presents the third-generation automatic litter box, promising it's the most user-friendly model on the market. She tries to get Kingshin to test it out, but the cat is being stubborn and refuses to move. As Zhan Chuyi stands up to explain the features, she freezes. She looks across the room and realizes the house is already full of guests, and they are all dressed to the nines. So many people, she screams internally. Didn't she say to dress casually? Our girl is currently underdressed and overwhelmed as she realizes this casual dinner is a full-blown event. A sudden knock at the door interrupts the cozy atmosphere. Chen Xinyu smiles, knowing exactly who it is. In walks a vision in a blue gown, none other than the top actor Meng Xinyuo. On paper, she's known for being the quiet and lovely type with millions of fans, but we're about to see if that's actually true. Our girl Zhan Chuyi is absolutely starstruck, wondering what a literal superstar is doing at her neighbor's place. Meng doesn't come empty-handed, lugging in a gift from a mutual friend who just flew in from England. And because you can never have too much liquid courage, she brings a bottle of red wine for Xinyu too. To our long-lasting friendship, she cheers. Xinyu opens the first gift only to find, surprise, surprise, another bottle of wine. Looks like Xinyu's liquor cabinet is getting a much-needed restock tonight, and Chuyi can tell these two are closer than they let on. Chuyi notices Meng is still in her full red carpet glam and asks why she didn't change. Apparently, the diva declined a dressing room because she didn't want to share her space with anyone else. Classic superstar behavior. Meng then turns her gaze toward Chuyi, assuming she's a new agent. Xinyu quickly clears the air, introducing Chuyi as her new neighbor. Chuyi can't help but feel a bit embarrassed, essentially crashing a celebrity hangout in her house clothes. Xinyu officially introduces her universal superstar friend to our heroine. Meng leans into the title, jokingly calling herself the worldwide movie queen before calling everyone to dinner. Xinyu's smile is enough to melt a glacier, and Chuyi is definitely feeling the heat. But before they can eat, the table is revealed and it's a total feast. Chuyi is blown away, wondering if there's anything Xinyu can't do. Suddenly, the other guests swarm Xinyu for a photo. Feeling like a total third wheel, Chuyi tries to slip away, thinking she shouldn't ruin the shot. But Xinyu isn't letting her go that easily. "No, I'm good," Chuyi stammers, trying to avoid the spotlight. The others tease her, calling her a chicken for not wanting the center spot next to the star. Meng Xinyuo, losing her patience because she's starving, grabs a selfie stick and takes charge. Talk about the intimidating power of a senior in the industry. As they pose, Chuyi tries to shimmy to the edge so she can be easily cropped out later. But Xinyu's hand snaps out, grabbing Chuyi's arm and pulling her back in. "You're almost out of the frame," Xinyu whispers, her face dangerously close to our girls. The tension is thick enough to cut with a knife as they lock eyes. With a final say cheese, the group photo is captured. After a few glasses of wine, the quiet and lovely Meng Xinyuo officially leaves the building. She starts shouting about knocking 10 people out and throwing hands. Looking more like a feral gremlin than a movie queen. Chuyi is shook so much for that lovely persona. Xinyu awkwardly explains that Meng has been a secret boxer since middle school and has some serious skills. Xinyu sighs, admitting that being a celebrity and pleasing everyone is exhausting. Chuyi looks at her softly, asking if she's tired of the act. Xinyu gives a small, genuine smile. "I honestly don't care if people like me or not," she confesses. Chuyi realizes that Xinyu's path to fame wasn't easy. She spent years in obscurity before finding the spotlight. Even without the fans, she always had a deep passion for the craft. She kept moving forward, even when no one was there to cheer for her. To Chuyi, that quiet strength and dedication is exactly what makes Chen Xinyu so special. It finally ended, our girl sighs, collapsing onto the couch after a long night of celebrity socializing. She tosses her tablet aside, ready to rot in peace. But curiosity kills the cat, and she picks it back up to see the social media fallout from the party. She scrolls through Weibo and finds Chen Xinyu's post about their small gathering. "Check out this group photo. Xinyu is front and center looking like a goddess, while our poor heroine is literally just an arm on the edge of the frame." Chuyi can't help but laugh, thinking, "I thought they would fully crop me off, but they actually left my arm there." Talk about being a background character in your own life. She keeps scrolling and finds an old post for Xinyu's drama, Green Peaches Under the Fans. The images are breathtaking, showing Xinyu in a stunning traditional red wedding gown. The close-ups are even more lethal. Chuyi is officially a goner, gasping, "How can someone who so perfectly fits my beauty standards even exist?" She's full-on simping now, clutching the tablet and blushing like a schoolgirl. In a moment of peak fangirl delusion, she squeals, "Starting now, I unilaterally declare that Qing Shan is my wifey." Of course, that's exactly when the universe decides to humble her. The doorbell rings, and her AI assistant announces that Miss Chen Xinyu is here for a visit. Chuyi goes into a full-blown panic, fumbling the tablet as if she were caught looking at something scandalous. She tries to play it cool as she opens the door. "At this hour, what's going on, Xinyu?" she asks, trying to hide her racing heart. But Xinyu isn't there for a late-night chat. She looks distressed and asks if Chuyi has any antiseptic at home. It turns out the wifey in question, her cat Kingshan, was a bit too playful and left a nasty scratch on Xinyu's leg. Chuyi immediately ushers her inside, worried the wound looks serious. As she carefully cleans the scratch, she jokes that the kitty must be in his hunting phase, pouncing on everything he sees. But seeing how deep it is, Chuyi insists, "Your wound's pretty deep, let's go get a vaccine tomorrow." Fast forward to Monday morning at the hospital. Chuyi is baffled because there's a full camera crew following them. "Isn't your show named Home Life? Why are you guys recording us getting a vaccine?" she demands. The staff explains they're short on footage for the week, and apparently watching a star get a shot is peak content. Xinyu is not thrilled, pouting and fake crying about the prospect of getting a shot in the rear. But the comedy hour is cut short when Xinyu spots some familiar faces in the lobby. Enter Wu Yuanyuan, a former child star with a face that screams expensive plastic surgery, despite her mother's claims that she's a natural beauty. Chuyi senses the bad vibes and tells the cameraman to take 5. Good call, because Yuanyuan's manager, Auntie Lanjin, immediately starts acting like a gatekeeping villainess. She smugly tells Xinyu to give up and head back, claiming director Lee has already cast Yuanyuan as the lead in his new drama. Chuyi is ready to throw hands, but Xinyu calmly holds her back. Why? Because Xinyu knows something these two don't. She shows Chuyi a news report on her phone. Director Lee was actually hospitalized for overworking and hasn't started casting yet. These two are bragging about a role that doesn't even exist, while Xinyu is just here for her health. Talk about a total cell phone. The tension in the air is thick enough to cut with a knife as the rival's mother warns that you never truly know who wins until the very last second. But our girl Zhan Chuyi isn't even flustered. With a chillingly calm smile, she simply replies, "Then good luck," before turning her back on the drama. She walks away with the grace of a queen who already knows the ending of the script. The entertainment industry is a Shark Tank where confrontations aren't even hidden behind curtains anymore. Zhan Chuyi looks back at the departing duo, her eyes sharp. If they think she's just there to steal a role, she's more than happy to play along and let them destroy themselves from the inside out. Xinyu is worried about the paparazzi catching them looking cold, but Zhan Chuyi isn't stressed. She knows exactly how the game is played and who holds the real power. Meanwhile, the sabotage is already in motion. A shady phone call is placed, and the rival's mother orders the paparazzi to swarm the hospital and snap photos of Chen Xinyu. Her daughter, the pink-haired rival, is startled by her mother's ruthlessness. "We can't afford to lower our guard," the mother snaps, poking her daughter's forehead to drive the point home. She believes it's always better to have a trap prepared just in case. Back at the house, the cameras for the reality show are rolling as Xinyu limps toward the sofa. She's pouting at the cameraman, complaining that his angles are being way too cruel. Once the unnamed photographer calls it a wrap for the day, he tells Xinyu she can finally turn off the home cameras and get some rest. The crew heads out, leaving the girls in peace. Xinyu sighs, realizing that since there's no script for this show, she's accidentally discovered way too many industry secrets. Am I going to be silenced? She jokes, imagining Meng Xinyuo's murderous fans coming for her. Zhan Chuyi just laughs at her friend's dramatic antics. She apologizes for dragging Xinyu to the hospital for a vaccine shot earlier, but Xinyu doesn't mind, especially if it means she gets to cook a delicious dinner for her favorite CEO. But the peace is shattered by a frantic phone call from Fu Tianren. CEO Zhan, you and my goddess are on the news, he screams through the line. The girls huddle around the phone and their jaws drop. The headline is a total hit piece, claiming Xinyu is at the hospital to sneakily steal roles from a director. But the ultimate insult, the media labeled Zhan Chuyi as Xinyu's assistant. Our CEO is absolutely offended. Do I really look like your assistant? She demands, looking completely dejected. She leans in close, teasing Xinyu that it's not about her clothes, but her height that makes her look like the one in charge. Getting back to business, Zhan Chuyi realizes this wasn't a random paparazzi leak. Usually they'd ask for hush money first, but this agency published the photos instantly. It's a targeted strike. Wu Yuanyuan and her mother posted a photo, with the director first to make it look like Xinyu was the one using dirty tricks to pressure him. It's a classic villain move to make Xinyu look like the bad guy. But as Xinyu scrolls through the rival's post, her finger slips. Shoot, you liked her post? Zhan Chuyi screams as they both stare at the screen in pure horror. Are you on your main or alt account? Chuyi asks, clearly already planning 10 steps ahead. Xinyu admits she doesn't even have an alt, which is just way too pure for this industry. Chuyi is shocked. How can you survive the internet without a burner? Do you need to inform your assistant? She asks, but Xinyu is hesitant. Apparently, Xinyu's team is too busy dealing with unofficial leaks to actually help her. Chuyi can't believe how slow they are. If it were her, the PR plan would have been out yesterday. Xinyu is touched, asking, why are you so kind to someone you've just met? Our girl plays it cool, reminding her that a good neighbor is better than a distant relative. Suddenly, the light bulb goes off. Chuyi has the perfect plan to squash those nasty role-snatching rumors once and for all. And just like that, the official announcement for the show, Home Life, drops, naming Xinyu as the first guest. Xinyu follows up by shutting down the hospital rumors personally, and the fans are eating it up. Meanwhile, our resident drama queen Meng Xinyuo is absolutely losing it. Mom, did you know Chen Xinyu is taking part in Home Life? She screams, clutching her phone like it's a weapon. She's furious because she thought she had Xinyu blocked from every opportunity. But her mom has zero patience for her daughter's incompetence. She slams her glass down, telling Xinyuo to shut up. This Chen Xinyu is too scheming. The mom yells, why couldn't you be a little smarter like her? Xinyuo is fuming, claiming Xinyu has been a manipulator since they were child actors and only pretended to be her friend. Back at the house, Chuyi is feeling pretty proud of her suggestion. The plan is simple, announce the show, then prove Xinyu is home with a surprise livestream. Chuyi decides to take her cat, Zhan Mao, and head back to her own place before the cameras arrive. She even decides to use the front door for once, just to feel like she actually belongs there. But Zhan Mao has other plans when he spots another cat. Zhan Mao, get back here, Chuyi screams as the orange menace bolts. It's a full-on feline high-speed chase through the living room. The girls are scrambling, trying to catch the cats before they wreck the place. I said get back here, Chuyi yells, completely losing her CEO composure. But then disaster strikes. She trips right over the camera equipment. Smack, she face-plants directly into the coffee table. My beautiful news, she wails, clutching her face in agony. Xinyu rushes over to help, but the cat isn't done causing chaos. The little demon trips Xinyu too. Xinyu goes flying and lands right on top of poor, bleeding Chuyi. Sorry, she mumbles while Chuyi is just seeing stars. At that exact moment, the production crew decides to let themselves in. Now allow us to have a tour of Miss Chen's house, the host chirps into the live stream. They walk in, cameras rolling, ready to show the world a glamorous celebrity morning. Instead, thousands of viewers are treated to the sight of two girls tangled on the floor in their pajamas. The comments section is absolutely losing its mind. Why is there a girl with a bleeding nose? One fan asks, while another mocks the absolute state of the living room. Talk about an explosive debut. Xinyu starts her live stream with a dazzling smile, apologizing to her fans for the messy scene earlier by claiming her kitty was just being naughty. The chat is absolutely blowing up with love for her new look. But of course, the internet never misses a beat. Everyone wants to know about the mystery girl covered in blood, who ran off like she was escaping a crime scene. Xinyu quickly does damage control, explaining that the girl is actually her neighbor and a very close friend who is normally a very poised, older sister type. While Xinyu prepares to give her fans a tour of her massive walk-in closet, our poor heroine is having a total meltdown in the background. It turns out that embarrassing fall was caught in 4K, and now Chuyi is trending for all the wrong reasons. Fu Tianren, hurry up and get the media to crop me out of those pictures. She screams into her phone, looking like a total gremlin in her pajamas. She's losing her mind because she's not a celebrity, so why on earth are they leaving her in the shots? Sadly, the internet is forever, and her assistant informs her that netizens have already screenshotted the disaster into oblivion. Realizing she can't hide forever, Chuyi decides it's time to face a different kind of music: dinner with her grandfather. Chairman Zhan Chuyi isn't exactly subtle, immediately lecturing her about how her mother had already conquered the business world by her age. "Oh, come on, I'm obviously only 17, Chuyi jokes, trying to dodge the join the family company talk with a bowl of soup. She starts bragging about her territory in the entertainment industry, claiming her new neighbor is a future superstar and she's going to be the golden finger of film investment. Her grandpa just smiles, but he's definitely not buying the act. Suddenly, a call from Fu Tianren interrupts their meal. Before Chuyi can make a clean getaway, her grandpa drops a bombshell. "I saw that photo of you with a nosebleed all over your face." Chuyi freezes in pure, unadulterated horror as the old man laughs at her expense. She bolts out of there as fast as her legs can carry her, leaving the chairman chuckling about how making money is what really counts. Later that night, we find our girl back at Xinyu's place, where the two are actually laughing about the variety show episode. Chuyi's mood swings are faster than a Ferrari, as she philosophizes about how human life is too short to stay sad. She leans in and snuggles against Xinyu, wanting to feel every emotion to the fullest. There's a lingering sadness in her eyes, perhaps tied to a painful past we only catch a glimpse of in a broken family photo. Xinyu gently suggests that if she wants to experience many lives, she should just become an actress. But Chuyi knows her path is different. She mentions she has to head to the company tomorrow, and when Xinyu offers to mooch food from her cafeteria, Chuyi starts acting super sus. Finally, she drops to her knees in a dramatic confession. "Your manager actually came to see me," she admits, clutching her hands nervously. But it's not bad news. She reveals they actually landed Xinyu a major endorsement deal. Chen Xinyu looks at our girl with a mix of curiosity and concern, asking how she even got mixed up in this endorsement deal. It turns out her manager, Sister Dan, is usually a total hawk when it comes to contracts, but she actually went out of her way to snag this one. Apparently, Dan was terrified that the powerful Xingu group, who just so happens to be backing our heroine, would rain fire down on her after that whole livestream disaster. Sister Dan can be a little impulsive when she's scared, Xinyu sighs, rubbing her temples. Our girl realizes that if a superstar like Xinyu endorses a shabby little startup, it's going to cause a massive riot among the fans. "If you needed an endorser, why didn't you just tell me?" Chuyi asks, but she's definitely not complaining about the free help. She wonders why Xinyu stays with such a messy management company, but the star explains that she actually has quite a bit of freedom. As long as she doesn't interfere with the big deals, her manager lets her do her own thing. "If I want to rest, she just gives me a couple of easy variety shows," Xinyu explains. Xinyu leans in close, tilting Chuyi's chin up with a playful smirk. "You'll find out my other plans later, CEO Zhan," she teases. Without another word, she puts pen to paper and officially signs the contract. The team is ecstatic, announcing that Chen Xinyu is now the official face of the company. The staff immediately starts buzzing, getting the promo shoot ready because the product launch is right around the corner. Xinyu is whisked away to change, leaving our heroine to deal with the impending fan fallout. The internet is already losing its mind over the news that a top-tier celebrity is working with a low-end company. "Why don't you just break the contract if it's going to cause this much trouble?" Xinyu asks later. But our girl is determined, declaring that this launch day is when they become bound together forever. She's already imagining herself sailing on a literal boat of gold coins, while her assistant worries that young fans won't be able to afford expensive household robots. Chuyi has a different target: the older auntie and uncle fans who love Xinyu's dramas. "They would actually buy something I endorse?" Xinyu asks, looking genuinely stunned. Chuyi explains that when people get old or sick, a loyal robot caregiver is the ultimate act of filial piety. Xinyu can't help but laugh, calling her a total idealist. "Ideals are the foundation of a successful career," our girl chirps back with a confident wink. Xinyu looks at her eyes softening with a hint of a blush. She pushes Chuyi along, telling her to get ready while she goes to transform for the camera. As Chuyi walks through the studio, she feels like she's living in a dream. The photographer is setting up, and her assistant warns her that fans might literally storm the gates. But there's a bigger problem: the internet detectives have been busy. Netizens have dug up Chuyi's entire life story, from her billionaire grandfather to the tragic earthquake that killed her parents when she was just 14. Her assistant is worried she'll be hurt by the gossip, but Chuyi just stares at the screen unfazed. She's actually impressed that they found out how many hairs her cat sheds. "Shutting their mouths would just be bullying," she says calmly, knowing her family already takes up enough social resources. She accepts that being a gossip hotspot is just part of her life now. Suddenly, the room goes silent as Xinyu steps out in a jaw-dropping black evening gown. "Chuyi, what do you think?" she asks with a radiant smile. "Does this fit your company's image?" Our girl is practically vibrating with excitement, giving her a double thumbs up. It's 100 out of 100. The photographer calls them to start, and as Xinyu takes her place, Chuyi notices someone in the crowd about to pull a major face change act. A woman approaches, introducing herself as Zhang Lanjin, the mother of Wu Yuanyuan, looking like she has a very specific agenda. An older manager from Echo Electronics approaches our girl, flashing a smile as she hands over her business card. It's a classic corporate power move, but Chuyi takes the card with a cold, practiced elegance. "I'll keep your card," she says, her voice smooth but distant. She isn't a fool. She knows they didn't come all this way just to trade pleasantries. The manager quickly retreats, taking her talent away to get styled for the event. As the pair walks off, Chuyi's companion lets out a sigh, thinking our girl was being a bit too aggressive. "CEO Zhan, that was way too harsh. Leave people a little room to save face," she suggests. But Chuyi isn't in the business of playing nice with snakes. She knows that in this world of fame and profit, the thicker the skin, the better you survive. "I never give scumbags a pleasant face," she declares, and honestly, we have to respect a queen who refuses to sugarcoat her disdain. She stands her ground, her arms crossed as she prepares for the battle ahead. She knows exactly who these people are, and she's not about to let them walk all over her. Meanwhile, over at the photo shoot, the photographer finally calls it a wrap for Miss Chen. "All right, Miss Chen, we're done here," he says, satisfied with the shots. But the celebratory mood is cut short when Xinyu's assistant rushes over, looking like she's seen a ghost. It turns out the internet has been busy. Netizens dug up Chuyi's entire family history, even the tragic fact that both her parents are dead. Xinyu is absolutely horrified by the news. The assistant is terrified that our rich young lady is going to explode in a fit of rage and take it out on them. Xinyu looks across the room and sees Chuyi sitting all by herself, looking small for the first time. Her heart aches for her friend as she rushes over to her side. But Chuyi just looks up and flashes the most innocent, dazzling smile as if nothing is wrong. Chuyi immediately starts acting like the clingy younger sister, asking why Xinyu is sitting alone and begging for a ride home. Xinyu agrees, but she can't shake the heavy feeling in her chest. She looks deep into Chuyi's eyes, searching for the pain she knows must be hidden behind that cheerful mask. Chuyi tries to brush it off, claiming that entertainment rumors are mostly fake and not worth a second thought. She even jokes that since she isn't part of the industry, no one would bother making up dirt about her. But Xinyu knows that having your deepest trauma broadcasted to the world is like someone tearing open a fresh wound. She looks at Chuyi with pure empathy, wishing she could shield her from the toxic online world. "Don't worry, Sister Yuzu, I'm very strong," Chuyi insists, her eyes hardening with resolve as the product launch looms. The live stream finally kicks off, and the numbers are absolutely insane. Over 1 million people are tuned in. But the chat is already a dumpster fire of toxicity, with haters wondering if the CEO got scared off by the public backlash. They mock the dark screen, calling the whole launch a joke and a waste of time. Suddenly, a blinding streak of light cuts through the darkness of the stage. It grows into a brilliant explosion of energy, silencing the keyboard warriors. A voice rings out through the arena, introducing the star of the night, Lilith Generation 3. And oh my god, she is precious. It's a high-tech household robot that looks like a literal cat in overalls. The host welcomes the massive crowd to the Chushing Intelligence launch, ready to unveil the future. First up, they introduce the stunning official spokesperson, Chen Xinyu. And standing right beside her is the mastermind herself, the founder, Zhan Chuyi. They are invited to step forward into the spotlight for a special signing ceremony. As they walk toward the center of the stage, the pressure is palpable. Xinyu glances over and realizes that despite her tough talk, Chuyi's hand is visibly trembling. Our girl is actually nervous. Without hesitation, Xinyu reaches out and firmly grasps Chuyi's hand. "Don't be afraid, I'm here with you." Her gesture says more than words ever could. Chuyi looks at her, finding a sudden surge of strength in Xinyu's support. Hand in hand, the two of them walk out to face the flashing lights and the world together. The spotlight hits the stage as the announcer invites our girl to the mic to finally reveal the story behind their new product. Chuyi steps forward with a focused gaze, looking every bit the powerhouse CEO we know she is. But she doesn't start with technical specs. Instead, she drops a total bombshell by bringing up her deceased parents. The audience is absolutely stunned, but Chuyi pushes through, wanting to honor her mother, Zhan Mingzhu, the former pride of the Xingu group. Her mother was a dazzling pearl who stood out in the darkness, but life dealt her a cruel hand. Through a series of heartbreaking flashbacks, Chuyi reveals the tragedy that fueled her mission. After an accident, her mother was left wheelchair-bound and broken-hearted. She was a woman of immense pride who couldn't stand her own physical limitations, screaming at her caretakers to get out. "I can do it myself," she insisted, stubbornly trying to navigate the stairs on crutches alone. But tragedy struck when her foot slipped. A horrifying fall followed by a sickening thud marked the end of an era. By the time Chuyi got home from school, her mother had already left her forever. It's enough to make anyone cry, but our girl used that pain as fuel. She realized that if a robot caregiver had been there to notice the danger and respond, her mother might still be alive. That's why she founded her tech company and created the Lilith and Barbara lines. Now, the Lilith Gen 3 is the culmination of all that history, designed to ensure no other family has to suffer like hers did. As she finishes her speech with a radiant smile, the crowd is moved to tears. Xinyu watches from the audience, her heart swelling with pride as she thinks, "Chuyi, you really are incredibly strong." Even the online comments are blowing up with people calling CEO Zhan so cool. Her assistants admit that while she usually seems like a lazy mess, she turns into a literal superwoman the moment she needs to. One assistant recalls how they first met. Chuyi was just a little bunny underclassman, But when she saw a student being cheated out of a scholarship, she transformed into a steel-fanged rabbit. She stormed the dean's office, slamming down a report and demanding justice like a true legendary heroine. Back in the present, Chuyi is done playing the public figure for one day. She tells her team to handle the rest, saying, "Work hard, wage earners," as she makes her exit. She doesn't leave alone, though. She grabs Xinyu's hand and pulls her along for the ride. But once they're safely tucked away in the car, the superhero mask finally starts to crack from exhaustion. Xinyu reaches out, gently cupping Chuyi's face and asking, "Is Miss Superhero running low on battery?" "I didn't grab your hand on purpose just now. I just really needed to hold on to something," our girl explains as she leans on Chen Xinyu in the back of the car. Xinyu just smiles softly and says she knows. But Chuyi isn't done being adorable, whispering that while Xinyu might have grabbed her hand by accident, she held onto Xinyu's on purpose because she wants the world to know they are truly good friends. Xinyu promises that if anyone talks smack about their friendship, she'll be the first one to curse them out as Chuyi clings to her. Our girl starts acting like a literal cat, rubbing her face against Xinyu until her makeup starts coming off on Xinyu's hair. "I'm scared," she chirps in her chibi form, refusing to let go of her favorite human. But duty calls, and Chuyi mentions she's going to be super busy for the next month and won't be able to mooch any more meals. Back at the family estate, Chuyi goes to see the big boss, her grandpa. He's been keeping tabs on her business trip to Shicheng and asks if she had any fun by the sea. Chuyi cuts straight to the chase, asking if he's worried about her or that massive tech park project they're developing on that old barren land. She knows the old fox is testing her. Grandpa credits a guy named Jin Zhao for the move, but Chuyi sees right through the game. Grandpa is impressed by her sharp ears and eyes, and Chuyi just gives a smug little "I've got connections" look. The old man drops the bomb. Now that she's joined the group, she's stepping right into the vice president position to handle the juicy Shicheng project. Chuyi points out it's a bit cold-blooded to kick Jin Zhao out just when he finally did something right. But Grandpa doesn't care. He says the guy is too impatient for their corporate culture and tells Chuyi to wrap up her business at her small company and report for duty ASAP. Got it, she chirps, ready to climb the corporate ladder. Back at her own company, Chusheng, Chuyi promotes Fu Tianren to general manager. Fu is worried about the ghosts and schemers waiting for Chuyi at the main group, but our girl tells her to just focus on the business while she goes to handle the sharks. She even steals her best assistant, Zhao Qi, to take with her, leaving Fu Tianren to scramble for a replacement. Clad in her best power suit, Zhan Chuyi officially arrives at the group. She meets her new secretaries, Sun Zhuo and Ma Jingxi, and immediately tells them to skip the pleasantries. "Let's get things in order and head out immediately," she commands, focused entirely on the Shicheng land development. A whole month flies by, and the Dingren Charity Gala is in full swing. Chen Xinyu is looking like a goddess in a flowing gown, but she's feeling lonely, wondering why Chuyi still hasn't returned from her trip. Suddenly, her stylist, Sister Dan, rushes over and starts trashing her outfit. "Did your stylist pull that dress off a street stall?" she demands, worried that Xinyu won't look influential enough for the wealthy crowd. Xinyu tries to defend the dress as a domestic brand that needs a spotlight, but Sister Dan isn't hearing it and insists on finding a proper couture gown. But then a murmur ripples through the crowd. "Isn't that Ms. Zhan?" someone whispers. Our girl has finally made her grand entrance, looking absolutely stunning in a sleek, dark gown. "Chuyi, when did you get back?" Xinyu asks, clearly surprised to see her friend. Our girl sighs, explaining she was dragged straight to this gala before she even had a chance to drop her bags and rest. But there's no time for a peaceful reunion because a crisis has struck. A business associate pulls them aside, frantically whispering that Xinyu has a massive problem. Her gown isn't couture, which is a total social death sentence at an event like this. Luckily, Chuyi is always 10 steps ahead and offers up a spare backless lace-up gown she had altered. "Elsa, give her my dress," Chuyi commands, as Xinyu tries to justify her choice by saying she thought a simpler look was better for a charity event. Chuyi doesn't sugarcoat it though, dropping some cold truth. "You weren't wrong, but the premise is the person wearing it has to be me." Xinyu can only laugh it off, admitting she's just a little actress who needs the clothes to carry her, while Chuyi has a level of status no one can see. As the gala begins, an assistant rushes up to tell Vice President Zhan it's time to make her entrance. Chuyi tells Xinyu to wait for the new dress and heads into the lion's den first. She walks in with the grace of a queen, leaving everyone in her wake. To her, some people are real guests, while others are just red carpet decorations meant to show off wealth they don't actually have. She picks up a glass of champagne, noting the quality is actually decent. But the atmosphere sours when she overhears a loud-mouthed executive bragging nearby. It's President Hua from Huacheng Tianchuang, and he's busy gloating about how he poached a top talent named Jin Zhao from Chuyi's company. He spots our girl and has the audacity to call out Miss Zhan. Chuyi turns to face him, her expression unreadable. Hua is practically vibrating with smug energy as he brings up Jin Zhao again. This man, Hua Rongcheng, really thinks he's done something clever. "But now he belongs to me. My apologies," he says with a grin that makes you want to reach through the screen. But Chuyi doesn't flinch. She clinks glasses with him, coolly stating that corporate talent is like currency. It needs to circulate to create value. She takes a tiny, elegant sip, completely unfazed by his attempts to rattle her. Hua tries a different tactic, bringing up rumors that she's looking to buy land again. He asks with a condescending tilt of his head just how big this plot of land is. "Oh my, it's just such a tiny little plot," Sesame Seed Land, Chuyi replies, playing the clueless niece card to perfection to make the seniors feel superior. Hyua is suspicious, asking if she's really confident she can win the bid for such a bargain. Chuyi's eyes turn to ice as she tells him to wait and see before delivering the ultimate shutdown. And also, please call me Vice President Zhan. She leaves him sputtering in her wake. Once they're out of earshot, Chuyi scoffs to her assistant that Hyua is a total idiot who only stays afloat because his sister is an iron-blooded empress. However, the situation is serious. The information about the land bid was internal. How did he know? Chuyi realizes there's a mole in her company with loose lips. Her gaze hardens as she declares, looks like it's time to pull out some nails. Meanwhile, the photographers are going wild as Miss Chen finally makes her appearance. Xinyu looks absolutely breathtaking in Chuyi's green and gold gown. The crowd is in awe, whispering about how gorgeous she looks in such a feminine style. Her manager, Sister Dan, is beaming, confident that they are about to trend for beauty. But the celebration is cut short when an assistant runs up, looking like she's seen a ghost. She thrusts a phone into Sister Dan's hand, and the headline is a nightmare. CHENXINYOU knockoff gown. Someone is trying to ruin her, and the drama is just getting started. The internet is currently on fire, and not in the slay way. Keyboard warriors are dragging Chen Xinyu through the mud, claiming her stunning LD couture dress is nothing but a cheap knockoff from a previous season. Don't disturb Xinyu for now, her manager orders, her face a mask of professional fury. Post a statement immediately. If they keep slandering our artist, we'll start legal proceedings. Meanwhile, at the actual party, the atmosphere is dripping with high society tension. The lovely Meng Xinyuo approaches our girl with a smile that doesn't quite reach her eyes. That dress is really beautiful, she says, clearly tasting a bit of sour grapes as she eyes the exquisite fabric. Xinyu, being the sweetheart she is, tries to play it cool. You're just as gorgeous as ever today too, she replies, but Xinyuo is definitely feeling the heat. Xinyuo sighs, pointing out that Xinyu is wearing this year's spring-summer collection while she's stuck in last year's leftovers. She's so stressed by the fashion hierarchy that she downs her champagne in one go. Relatable, honestly. Let them take pictures, Xinyuo huffs, grabbing the bottle to refill her glass. She's convinced her pure fairy image and her loyal fans will protect her from any petty internet rumors. Xinyuo starts digging for tea, asking which stylist Xinyu used to score such a rare find. She immediately assumes it's a gift from a certain President Shen, a middle-aged businessman who usually has, let's say, unique taste. His taste has really improved, Xinyuo muses, noting the dress is full of girlish charm compared to the tacky stuff he usually buys. But Xinyu just puts a finger to her lips with a mysterious smirk. That's because, of course, this dress doesn't belong to President Shen, she reveals. Xinyuo's jaw practically hits the floor. Our girl has secret connections she's been hiding. While the girls are chatting, the management team is having a total meltdown in the corner. Everyone at the banquet is acting incredibly twitchy, whispering behind their hands, and even Xinyu starts to notice the vibe is totally off. Despite the chaos brewing online, the girls have to keep up appearances and pose for the cameras. The manager is desperate, the brand isn't responding to their calls, and the netizens aren't buying their weak clarifications. To make matters worse, they can't even get a hold of the one person who can actually fix this, Zhan Chuyi. Miss Zhan isn't answering her phone, the assistant worries, while the manager hopes they can at least milk some sympathy from the fans. Cut to a sleek luxury car gliding through the night. Inside, our powerful CEO Zhan Chuyi is finally checking her device after the event. She's got a mountain of missed calls because the background noise at the party was just too loud to hear a single ring. When she finally answers, the person on the other end is practically hyperventilating. CEO Zhan, you finally answered. I've waited for so long. Chuyi rolls her eyes, telling them to get to the point. Did our precious Yuzu wear your dress today, the one I brought back for you? The voice asks frantically. Chuyi calmly confirms it, wondering what the big deal is. Hurry, right now, the caller screams. Announce to the whole world that the dress is yours. Chuyi is stunned, asking what on earth happened while she was offline. It turns out the netizens are claiming Xinyu is wearing a knockoff and are dragging her reputation through the dirt. But they messed with the wrong CEO's friend. Chuyi's assistant reminds her that her verified vice president account carries massive weight. Got it? Chuyi says, her voice dropping into that boss mode we love. She looks at her phone, seeing how every move Xinyu makes gets amplified and twisted by the public. With a few decisive taps, she drops the ultimate truth bomb on Weibo. The dress, I bought it. Boom, that's how you silence the haters and protect your girl in one move. The social media world is absolutely on fire. The haters are officially crying in the corner because Zhan Chuyi didn't just open an account, she used it to put every single one of them on blast. The fans are losing their minds, shipping our girl and Chen Xinyu so hard they're already writing the wedding vows. Even the staff are stunned, realizing that with just one post, the CEO Zhan has completely flipped the script for her neighbor. Later that night, Chuyi steps out only to find Xinyu lingering right outside her door. It's so late, why are you standing here? Our girl asks, looking like a total boss in her evening wear. Xinyu is all bashful, admitting she came specifically to thank her. This time I owe you one, she says softly. She even offers to have that gorgeous dress dry cleaned and returned. But Chuyi isn't having it. No need to return it, she says with a smile. You looked beautiful in it. When Xinyu tries to argue that it's way too expensive, Chuyi just hits her with that smooth alpha energy, saying it's perfectly normal for good friends to give each other gifts. She leans in close, making the atmosphere get real heavy real fast. Xinyu is basically a blushing mess at this point, completely stunned by Chuyi's charm. She tries to get a word in edgewise, but Chuyi just gives her a playful look and shuts the door before she can say another word. Left alone in the hallway, Xinyu can't help but giggle to herself, thinking Chuyi is actually kind of cute when she's being bossy. The next morning, Chuyi is deep in dreamland and looking like a total mess in her pajamas. Her little robot assistant wakes her up, announcing that a strange auntie is ringing the doorbell. Chuyi stumbles to the door with her hair going every which way, only to be greeted by a very cheerful woman wishing her a happy dragon boat festival. Surprise, it's Xinyu and her mom, Chen Huan. Our poor heroine is internally screaming about her bedhead and pajamas while trying to act normal. Xinyu hands over a basket of handmade zongzi, and the mom immediately invites Chuyi over for lunch. She's determined to thank Chuyi properly for helping her daughter out of that mess yesterday. Chuyi, ever the polite neighbor, happily accepts. The lunch spread is absolutely legendary. We're talking 5-star hotel quality. Chuyi is a total sweet talker, praising the food until the mom is beaming. When Chuyi asks what kind of work the mom does, she learns she used to be a screenwriter, which is how Xinyu got into acting as a kid. She still writes, though she says her current work is a bit similar to screenwriting. Chuyi starts guessing things like children's literature or documentaries. The mom corrects her with a straight face, I write period literature. Xinyu looks like she wants to vanish into thin air as she explains that her mom is actually the queen of face-slapping rebirth novels, set in the 60s and 70s. Chuyi is struggling for her life to hold in her laughter. She realizes that the reason those online novels feel so realistic is because true professionals like Xinyu's mom are the ones writing them. Chuyi calls her a real-life heroine of a wish fulfillment novel, and the three of them settle in for a lunch full of spicy industry stories. What happened after that? What did Xinyu's dad think? Chuyi asks, leaning in for the tea. Miss Chen doesn't hold back, explaining that even though her dad pretended to be okay with having a daughter, he was secretly desperate for a son. So I made him take his son and the mother and get the hell away from me, she declares with a satisfied smirk. Our girl and the crew are absolutely living for this level of savagery. But the gossip session is cut short when Chuyi's phone starts buzzing like crazy. It's Ma Jingxi on the line with some nightmare news. Vice President Zhan Hua Rongqing is trying to snatch that Shicheng plot from us. Chuyi's jaw drops. What on earth is that old man thinking? Back at the office, she's fuming. Hua Rongqing mocked her for buying sesame seed land, but now it turns out he wants to fight her for that tiny plot too. She can practically feel the heat of the rumors as her staff explains that everyone expects her to fall flat on her face. HMPH, that old bastard wants to see me make a fool of myself. Not a chance, she huffs, leaning back with a defiant smile. Her team warns her that the rival is joining forces with Heme Real Estate, a local powerhouse that isn't to be underestimated. But our girl has some juicy rich family gossip of her own. She reveals that Heme is currently a house divided because the old man of the company just acknowledged an illegitimate son. It's a total war zone between the eldest son, Hisheni, and the newcomer, Hizai Ocean. Chuyi is convinced she has the upper hand because she hears the illegitimate son is a total idiot and completely useless. She suspects the eldest son, Hisheni, actually tipped her off about the land just to sell her a favor while screwing over his cheap little brother. Without Heme's full support, she thinks Hua Rongqing is worth nothing. Feeling like a master strategist, she pivots to her next move, handing over a file for a variety show called Sunshine Holiday. I want to be the sole title sponsor, she commands, looking at the photo of Miss Chen in the proposal. 3 days later, she meets the man himself, Hisheni, at a quiet cafe. Hisheni, you're a busy man. What made you suddenly come looking for me? She asks, keeping it professional. But the news he brings is a total cold shower. It turns out the useless brother has a secret weapon. His mother, Zhao Qing, a veteran movie star with a massive local network. Hua Rongqing isn't after the brother's talent. He's after the mother's connections to secure the land. Our girl's internal Zhan flag of victory suddenly starts to crumble. She was so busy waiting for them to fail on their own that she completely missed the bigger picture. My perfect plan was all wrong. How could this happen? She wails, the drama reaching an all-time high. The legendary CEO is reduced to clutching her head and banging it on the table in pure, unadulterated regret. Zhan Chuyi is having a complete internal meltdown over her own perceived stupidity. How could I be this naive? She screams into her rice bowl, realizing she's way out of her league in this corporate shark tank. Our girl finally sees the truth. Hua Rongqing and Zhao Qing were never real allies. They were just using each other to claw their way to the top, and she's frustrated she didn't see the signs sooner. As she wallows in self-pity, a hand suddenly grabs her wrist. It's her neighbor, Chen Xinyu, who's not about to let a perfectly good bowl of rice go to waste just because Chuyi's ego is bruised. Xinyu comforts her, asking if things at the office are going poorly. Chuyi just looks up with teary eyes, admitting she's been utterly crushed by reality. But if she was looking for a soft shoulder to cry on, Xinyu provides some brutal, tough love instead, telling her she's going to get crushed a lot more in the future. While seeking comfort in Xinyu's arms, Chuyi notices a stack of physical books nearby and wonders why anyone still reads those. It turns out Xinyu's mom is actually the famous author Dong Yin, and she sends a copy of every novel she writes to fill up the bookshelf. Chuyi is shook because this isn't just any author. It's a massive hitmaker with huge reputation and IP value. So Auntie is the famous author Dongyin? That's amazing, she exclaims, her fangirl side finally coming out. She initially thought the author only wrote petty stories about daughters-in-law fighting, but Xinyu explains her mom actually uses herself as a model for complex period novels when she runs dry on inspiration. Xinyu describes a plot about a palace maid helping a young emperor rise to power while his grandfather plots a betrayal. In the story, the grandfather acts like a supporter but actually harbors ambitions to usurp the throne. He plans to eliminate all other princes and turn the young emperor into a puppet to command the lords. Suddenly, a light bulb goes off in Chuyi's head. She realizes the real-life parallels. Hua Rongqing is supporting He Zai Ocean just to bring down He Sheni and swallow the entire company whole. I knew it, she thinks, realizing even a snake like Hua Rongqing wouldn't team up with an idiot without a hidden agenda to swallow them both. Overjoyed by the epiphany, she nearly tackles Xinyu with a thank you hug. Armed with this new insight, Chuyi meets up with He Sheni at a cafe to lay it all out. She warns him that his supportive partner is actually a wolf in sheep's clothing planning to devour his entire family legacy. He Sheni is skeptical, asking if she actually has any hard evidence. Chuyi admits she doesn't have a paper trail, just intuition based on years of hearing about these corporate vultures from her grandfather. She warns him that with his father stepping back, He Zai Ocean is ready to make a ruthless move. He Sheni claims he's already on guard and suggests they partner up to fight back. But Chuyi isn't having it. I refuse, she snaps without a second thought. He's baffled, wondering where she could possibly find a more reliable partner. Chuyi points out the cold business logic. If they team up at the auction, they'll just end up overpaying by 10%. Am I sick? Do I have too much money and nothing better to do? She asks, dripping with sarcasm. When he tries to play on her billion-dollar heiress reputation to convince her, she looks at him with pure annoyance. She tells him she's only warning him as a friend, and if he won't listen, that's his problem. As she prepares to leave, He Sheni calls out to her again. He asks if she's basically threatening him not to get involved in the land auction. Chuyi turns back with a chilling, intense gaze. She reminds him that it doesn't matter to her whether she bids or not. After all, she's not the one who's about to get kicked out of the family business. The tension in the air is thick enough to cut with a knife as they stare each other down. He Sheni accuses her of just wanting to watch the tigers fight so she can swoop in and reap the benefits. Chuyi fires back, admitting she hates doing business with people she knows because it gets messy. She looks him dead in the eye and asks why he thinks she came to him in the first place if she had the ability to stop them alone. He Sheni is left speechless and frustrated, realizing she's right. He can't afford to let this end in mutual destruction while his enemies circle overhead. Heme has been going downhill for years, and now outsiders are circling like vultures. Our girl Zhan Chuyi points out, her eyes sharp as she faces her companion. She's not about to let people like Hu Rongqing get their way, declaring she'd rather destroy the company with her own hands than let them have it. She lets out a heavy, dramatic sigh, the weight of her mother's legacy clearly pressing down on her. But then a spark of mischief enters her eyes as she mentions that there are many different kinds of cooperation. What do you mean? Her companion asks. But our CEO just gives him a look that says she's already 10 steps ahead of everyone else. We cut to a high-stakes business event where the atmosphere is thick with enough tension to cut with a knife. Zhao Zhan, you're here, a greasy executive greets her with a fake smile. He introduces her to Jin Zhao from Huacheng Tianchuang, reminding the man that our girl is actually his boss's granddaughter. But our girl doesn't have time for small talk or fake pleasantries with these snakes. She walks right past them like they're part of the wallpaper. Such a rude junior, they grumble behind her back, clearly offended that she didn't stop to kiss the ring. As she settles into her seat in the auction hall, she notices a familiar face, He Sheni. Why is he here too? She wonders, her mind racing. The old fossils nearby laugh it off, mockingly asking if he even has the capital to fight them for the prize. Zhan Chuyi stays quiet, her eyes fixed on the stage as the auctioneer takes the podium. A prime piece of land in Shicheng is up for bidding, covering nearly 5,000 square meters. The air in the room turns electric as the starting bid is set at 15 million. Jin Zhao isn't playing around, immediately doubling the price to 30 million. The gallery erupts in whispers, everyone convinced that Hua Cheng has teamed up with Heme's younger son and is determined to win at any cost. Jin Zhao looks smug, practically tasting victory. But then Xingu Group raises the bid to 31.5 million. It becomes a ping-pong match of millions, with Hua Cheng hitting back instantly at 33 million. You little brat, you're still too green to fight me for this. Jin Zhao sneers, his ego reaching critical mass. Xingu raises again to 34.5 million. The paddles keep flying as the price skyrockets higher and higher. After 20 grueling rounds of bidding, Jin Zhao thinks he's finally broken her spirit. Even Chuyi's own team is starting to get nervous about the mounting cost. But then our girl leans back with a cold, beautiful smirk and says, "All right, let them have it." The room goes dead silent as her team gestures for the rivals to take the lead. What's going on? Zhan Chuyi gave up. Jin Zhao is baffled, his smugness replaced by confusion. He tries to convince himself she just realized the gap in strength and backed off like a coward. The auctioneer asks for any more bids on the $70 million plot as the map of the land glows on the screen. Suddenly, a voice cuts through the room like a lightning bolt. 80 million. It's He Sheni jumping into the ring with a vengeance. Jin Zhao's face turns a delightful shade of purple. That brat, where does he get the nerve to bid? He rages, realizing his easy win just turned into a total nightmare. He's sweating bullets now as the price hits 80 million, far beyond what he expected to pay. Zhan Chuyi just watches the chaos unfold from the sidelines with a satisfied grin. Jinzhao, oh Jinzhao, what are you going to do now? She thinks, enjoying the show. The auction is reaching a fever pitch and the pressure is on. Huacheng Tianchuang raises the stakes. But the competition isn't backing down. Suddenly a voice cuts through the room like a knife. 90 million. Everyone turns to see the young He Sheni, looking absolutely fearless. The crowd is losing their minds, wondering if this brat even has that kind of money to throw around. The old guard realizes they've been played. President Hua is ready to blow a fuse, wanting to outbid him at any cost. But his associate warns him that it's time to retreat. Offending He Sheni now would be suicide for their future business development. With a bitter HMPH, the old man finally admits defeat. Going once, going twice, and sold. Heme Real Estate takes the prize for a cool 90 million. At the after-party, President Hua tries to save face, gloating that even though he's annoyed, at least our girl Zhan Chuyi didn't get the land either. Oh, how wrong he is. Enter our queen Zhan Chuyi, looking radiant and completely unbothered. She walks right up to the old bastard and drops the bombshell of the century. President He, you really stole the spotlight today, she says with a smirk. It turns out she and He Sheni secretly signed a joint development agreement. She didn't lose the auction, she partnered up with the winner to secure the bag. President Hua is practically foaming at the mouth, screaming about them working together behind his back. But our girl doesn't have time for his temper tantrums. She heads off to a private celebration with Chen Xinyu and her team to toast their victory. They're not just winning, they're using this partnership to gain the experience they need to build their own mall empire. Now this is the real ending, she says, we're the ultimate winners. But there's still one loose thread to deal with, the rat in the house. Zhan Chuyi knows the spy is close by and she's right. In the next room, the woman who thought she was pulling the strings is tearing into Sun Jiu for being useless. Even though he tried to give her info, the plan still failed and she tells him never to contact her again. But before he can even process being dumped by his co-conspirator, a hand lifts the curtain. Sun Jiu looks up in pure terror as he's caught red-handed. Zhan Chuyi stares him down with a chilling, victorious smile. Hey Sun Jiu, she says, cornering the traitor at last. Stop right there, come over to my side, our girl commands, her voice leaving zero room for argument. The sliding door sways as the tension in the room reaches a boiling point. President Zhan isn't just here for a casual sushi dinner, she's here to clean house. She looks the trembling man across from her dead in the eye and asks about the girl he likes in the preliminary department. Has all that bootlicking gotten you anywhere? She asks, taking a calm sip of her tea while he sweats buckets. He stammers, asking when she found out he was a rat. Our girl just scoffs, explaining that his information as a secretary was just a little too well-informed to be legit. He immediately drops his head, whimpering out an apology for betraying the company. Zhan Chuyi sets her cup down with a sharp click, noting that sending new employees to handle the Shicheng side of the business is a massive risk. You can go there and be an administrative manager, she declares, hold down the fort for everyone. The guy is reeling, thinking this is just a polite way of being exiled in disguise. He tries to take the coward's way out by offering his resignation next week, but our girl isn't having it. She stares him down, her eyes flashing with authority. You think after screwing me over you can just run? She demands. If she says he's going to Shicheng, he's going to Shicheng. Realizing he's being given a lifeline instead of a lawsuit, he practically weeps with gratitude, promising to work his tail off. She dismisses him, telling him to finish his handover and head out tomorrow. As the traitor scurries out the door, the heavy atmosphere finally lifts. Xinyu leans in, asking if it was really okay for her to overhear all that corporate drama. Zhan Chuyi shrugs it off, but Xinyu is more worried about our girl's health, asking if she even knows it's already August 17th. Our poor heroine has been so buried in work she's completely lost track of time. She immediately turns into a total softie, clinging to Xinyu and begging her not to be mad for being a neglectful bestie. Xinyu just giggles, telling her she's overthinking things as usual. Zhan Chuyi admits she was genuinely worried her friend would be upset, while their assistant watches from the sidelines, wondering if this clingy girl is really the same terrifying CEO he knows. Xinyu mentions she's about to start recording a new variety show, and our girl immediately offers to throw money at it. But Xinyu sighs, explaining the production team is actually drowning in cash now. Apparently, some mysterious big spender invested so much that Meng Xinyuo was upgraded to a regular cast member. The assistant chimes in, President Zhan, that big spender is you. Zhan Chuyi's jaw drops as she remembers her drunken, or maybe just impulsive, order to be the sole sponsor. She immediately grabs the assistant, demanding to know exactly how much of her hard-earned money he transferred away. While Xinyu is touched, our girl is feeling a massive case of investor's heartache. Xinyu starts to wonder if maybe the investment was a bit too much. The real problem? The show's format requires a regular cast member to be paired with a guest, But since Meng Xinyuo is now a regular too, she and Xinyu can't be partners anymore. Our girl realizes her help actually ruined everything and frantically asks if there's anyone else available. When the answer is a big fat no, the table goes silent. But then a light bulb goes off. Your show never said the guests have to be celebrities, right? Zhan Chuyi asks. She points to herself with a confident smirk, suggesting that she should be Xinyu's new partner. Xinyu is stunned, but hey, if you want something done right, you've got to enter the spotlight yourself. The sound of tires crunching on gravel echoes through the dense forest. Two vans come to a halt in the middle of nowhere, leaving our girls wondering exactly where they've been dropped off. Zhan Chuyi and Chen Xinyu step out, and Chuyi is already dreaming big. When the time comes, let's pick the biggest, fanciest presidential suite, she chirps, thinking they've arrived at a luxury resort. But the director quickly bursts that bubble with a smug smile. Oh, Miss Chen, don't rush to move your luggage yet, he says, stopping them in their tracks. Our girls are immediately suspicious. Is this some kind of sick joke? Are they really expected to hike up a mountain after a long car ride? The director ignores their glares and welcomes them to the scenic Loyu Mountain, telling them they have to draw a card to determine their fate. Chuyi reaches out and grabs an envelope, wondering if this is some kind of secret mission. Inside is a map to something called the Red Bean Courtyard. Chuyi thinks it looks pretty nice, but Xinyu leans in and whispers a warning. Variety shows are never this generous without a catch. Sure enough, the mission is revealed. They have to find the courtyard on their own. And here's the kicker. The time it takes them to get there will directly determine the quality of their actual accommodations. Chuyi's face falls as she realizes the beautiful courtyard in the picture might not even be where they're staying. You can't say this, you can't say that, but I'm your gold. Chuyi starts to yell, nearly revealing her status as the show's investor before Xinyu quickly cuts her off. Xinyu tries to play the diplomat, dragging Chuyi away before she can strangle the director. Chuyi is absolutely fuming, radiating a literal aura of angry cat energy that has the staff sweating bullets. She complains that the production team is just messing with people, but Xinyu knows exactly how to handle her. All right, now you look so pretty today, so don't get mad at them, Xinyu says, booping Chuyi on the nose and promising that the presidential suite is still waiting for them. Feeling bolstered by the flirting, Chuyi decides she's going to conquer this mountain in her Lolita-style dress and ruffly shoes, waving a flag like she's leading an army. She charges ahead with maximum confidence, leaving Xinyu to trail behind. However, that confidence lasts about 5 minutes before Chuyi is staring at the map with a look of pure despair. They're standing in a clearing, and she has absolutely no clue which way to go. She turns her wrath on the cameraman, shaking the map in his face. Who drew this map? It looks like a slime. They're obviously trying to make us take the wrong path, she screams. The realization that this travel show is actually an outdoor survival show starts to sink in. When the crew informs them they've only walked a third of the way, Chuyi feels her life force being drained dry. She's done playing nice. She glares at the crew and drops the ultimate threat. Find me a car and take me there, or I'm pulling the investment in minutes. Xinyu tries to soothe her fur, even offering to carry her the rest of the way. Chuyi is tempted, but she refuses out of pure embarrassment. She doesn't want Xinyu's fans to assassinate her for being a pampered princess. But then, a miracle happens. The sound of a sputtering engine fills the air as an electric tricycle appears on the path. Chuyi's eyes light up like she's just seen a chariot from the gods. While Xinyu wonders if this is another production setup, Chuyi rushes over to the old man driving the trike. She begs him for a ride, but he responds in a thick dialect that sounds like gibberish to anyone else. Somehow, through the power of desperation, Chuyi understands him perfectly. Grandpa agreed, let's go, she shouts, waving Xinyu over. It's a far cry from a limousine, but as they bounce around in the back of the rusty tricycle, the girls agree that any ride is better than walking another inch. The duo arrives at the scenic Red Bean Courtyard, but there's no time for sightseeing because they're immediately slapped with a task. Solve Grandpa Red Bean's problem. Our girl Zhan Chuyi is absolutely floored when she hears the details. It turns out Grandpa's family is away, and he's all alone with a mountain of work. The problem is that they need to handstring 160 red bean bracelets. Are you kidding me, 160? Chuyi shrieks, realizing it'll take over an hour even if they're fast. The production team isn't budging, telling them to pick up the tools and get to work. Chuyi tries her best to focus, squinting as she attempts to thread the tiny beads. She tries again and again, her frustration reaching a boiling point. This production team is unbelievable, torturing people like this. She fumes, threatening to pull her investment the second she gets home. Seeing her struggle, Chen Xinyu gently reaches out and grabs her hand. That's not how you string a bracelet, she says with a calm smile. She patiently shows Chuyi the proper technique, explaining how to thread the needle first before adding the beads. Chuyi finds herself completely distracted by how close Xinyu is as they count the beads together. Suddenly snap, ah, my red beans, Chuyi cries out as the cord breaks. Xinyu just giggles, noting that the elastic cord really isn't that sturdy. Chuyi finally humbles herself, admitting, I was wrong. Xinyu reassures her that it's fine and they just need to hurry and finish. 2 hours of grueling labor later, they finally announce they've finished all 160 bracelets. Grandpa is beyond satisfied, giving them a big thumbs up. As a reward, he offers to drive them to their actual lodging. Chuyi is amazed at how smoothly Xinyu communicates with the locals. 2 hours of beating in exchange for a ride? Totally worth it. Chuyi cheers, realizing they avoided a long climb up the mountain. They hop into the back of Grandpa's blue tractor, with Xinyu warning Chuyi to sit steady so she doesn't fall off. As they bump along the road, Chuyi pulls out 2 special bracelets. Look what this is, one for each of us, she beams. Xinyu is confused why she has 2, and Chuyi explains that Grandpa gave them as souvenirs. I'll put yours on for you, she insists. Xinyu blushes a deep crimson as Chuyi carefully slides the red beans onto her wrist. Ta-da, now we're a pair, Chuyi exclaims, looking way too proud of herself. The two share a sweet, quiet moment holding hands as the sun begins to set. Finally, they pull up to a stunning traditional building. The staff congratulates them on arriving at their lodging, but then drops the hammer. They have to carry all their heavy luggage inside themselves. Chuyi throws a mini fit, but the staff just gives her a firm nope. Dragging her heavy suitcase, she groans, I thought shows like this were always easy. Xinyu just laughs, telling her she'll get used to the tasks. Suddenly, a voice calls out Yao Yu. It's Zhang Fang, a top actress, and Meng Xinyuo who have already arrived. It turns out Zhang Fang is Meng Xinyuo's invited guest. Xinyu is shocked that they weren't the first ones there. Chuyi's soul practically leaves her body as the realization hits. Goodbye, my presidential suite, she wails, clinging to Xinyu in despair. They sit down for some tea to settle their nerves, and another cast member, Fakesi, joins them. The final rankings are in. Fakesi took first, Zhang Fang and Meng Xinyuo took second, leaving our poor Chuyi and Xinyu in dead last. Now they're stuck staying in the absolute worst room in the entire house. Fakesi spots Chen Xinyu and immediately asks about the stunning blonde standing right next to her. Xinyu introduces our girl as Zhan Chuyi, but our heroine, being the humble queen she is, tells them to just call her Xiao Zhan. Fakesi, who takes her social hierarchies very seriously, is a bit flustered by the request, but eventually agrees to the casual nickname. Fakesi calls over her childhood friend Lu Wengxin to join the party. It turns out Wengxin is a total fangirl. She recognizes our heroine from a speech she gave at Jing University. Chuyi is genuinely surprised she made such an impression, but Wengxin gushes about how it was an absolute honor to listen to her speak. After a round of applause from the group, Fakesi announces it's finally time to chow down. But instead of human waiters, they're greeted by the pitter-patter of little mechanical feet. These adorable cat-themed robots are the ones serving the dishes. Chuyi is confused until she realizes this is a blatant, high-tech product placement. They can even do that, what a forced ad insertion. She cries out, absolutely floored by the production's shamelessness. As they settle in to enjoy Wengxin's home-style cooking, the director's voice suddenly booms through a loudspeaker. Our girl isn't having it. Seriously, if you mess with me again, I really am going to pull my investment. She snaps, ready to cut the check. The news gets even worse. Wake-up time is 6:20 a.m. sharp to conquer Loyu Mountain. Our girl is in full revolt mode, declaring she is absolutely not getting out of bed that early. To make themselves feel better, the girls swap stories about their afternoon tasks. It turns out some of them had it way worse, like having to catch 10 free-range chickens. Luckily, Jiang has been studying martial arts since she was a kid and rounded them up like a pro. The table erupts in laughter as they imagine a top-tier actress chasing poultry through the dirt. Finally, it's time for bed, but the accommodations are less than 5-star. Chuyi looks at the cramped room and realizes they're basically sleeping in a cupboard under the stairs. She pulls out her phone, fuming, and threatens to fire the entire production team for making them live like Harry Potter. Xinyu tries to calm her down, pointing out that at least the bedding is clean and they get to share a room. But in the middle of the night, our girl is tossing and turning. She feels something creepy-crawly lurking right behind her. Suddenly, she comes face to face with a massive, terrifying mountain bug. She screams bloody murder, leaping out of bed and begging for help. To make matters worse, there's gross green slime on her pajamas. Traumatized and shaking, she clings to Xinyu for dear life. No, I refuse to lie on that bed again, she whimpers, looking totally defeated. With no other choice, our poor heroine begs Xinyu to let her share her bed for the rest of the night. Zhan Chuyi isn't about to let a little thing like pride get in the way of a cozy sleepover. Clinging to her neighbor and pleading, Yuzu, can I sleep with you? She puts on her best puppy dog eyes, looking absolutely pitiful to seal the deal. Chen Xinyu can't help but sigh and pat the bed, telling her to come on up, much to our girl's delight. As they settle in, Xinyu asks if she can turn off the light. Chuyi is practically over the moon, thinking about how lucky she is to be sleeping next to such a gorgeous beauty. But the peaceful vibes don't last long as Chuyi suddenly bolts awake with a look of pure shock. Xinyu breaks the silence, admitting, actually, I'm not scared of bugs. Chuyi starts rambling, trying to save face by explaining she just wasn't prepared for a sneak attack from behind. Xinyu can't help but let out a little laugh, finding the CEO's desperate explanations way too cute. Chuyi doubles down, insisting she's even slept on a bed of bug corpses before. Xinyu calls her bluff, mentioning she saw a post where Chuyi's pet destroyed a bug nest. We see the proof on the screen, a literal lineup of different-sized bugs. Chuyi is starstruck that a big celebrity like Xinyu actually looked at her post, getting so excited she accidentally sneezes. The mood shifts when Chuyi notices something else while they're lying there. "Yuzu, your legs are so long," she says, giving them a little poke. Xinyu's face turns beet red as she stammers that they're just normal length and tells Chuyi to go to sleep. She hides under the covers, completely flustered by the sudden physical contact. Morning comes, and the whole crew looks like they haven't slept a wink at the breakfast table. Xinyu is rubbing her arm, and when asked if it hurts, she gives a very meaningful look and explains it got pinned by a human. One of the girls jokes that straight girls really know how to play, which earns her some serious glares from the others. But Chuyi, still half asleep, drops a bombshell. "Straight girl, I don't think I count as one." The table goes silent before everyone screams, "Are you coming out on the spot?" Xinyu panics, reminding her that they are literally filming the show right now. Chuyi clarifies that she meant her dad's side of the family doesn't even think of her as a niece, so she doesn't count as one of their girls. The group breathes a sigh of relief, realizing our girl is just totally not awake yet and rambling nonsense. The director announces the next stop is Loyu Mountain and they need to pack thick jackets. Meng Xinyuo is confused, pointing out the mountain isn't even that high. As they finish breakfast, someone explains the plan is to camp overnight to catch the sunrise. While some are excited about the idea of a cookout, others joke that this is starting to feel like an elementary school field trip. Xinyu points out that since they're already here, it would be a shame not to see the scenery. Chuyi looks a bit nervous about the trek, but she quickly finds her motivation. With a wagging tail and sparkling eyes, she asks the most important question, "So if that's the case, then tonight we're sleeping in one tent, right?" The staff member doesn't care about their status and bluntly tells them they only have their own two legs to rely on. Our girl Zhan Chuyi is absolutely losing it, screaming, I'm pulling my investment," while her friends try to hold her back. But the director is a savage and just tells them that time waits for no one before literally running away from her wrath. Chuyi can only watch in disbelief as he disappears into the distance. "Damn it, feels like we got played by the production team again," she mutters, realize there's no way out of this but up. The hike is a total disaster for these city girls. 1 hour in, they're getting excited over seeing a cow for the first time. 3 hours later, they're being ambushed by lunch in the form of very aggressive chickens. Poor Chuyi and the girls are practically vibrating with fear as the birds flap around them. 5 hours later, a snake joins the party, causing a complete meltdown. By the 7-hour mark, Chuyi is a shell of her former self, leaning on Chen Xinyu while threatening to pull her investment for the 100th time. Another 30 minutes of agonizing huffing and puffing goes by. Just when they think their legs are going to fall off, they finally spot the pavilion at the summit. "We finally made it up," they gasp, looking like they've been through a literal war. While the others are shaking like leaves on a windy day, Chuyi turns her gaze toward Chen Xinyu. The view is absolutely breathtaking as the sun begins to dip below the horizon. Xinyu stands there, bathed in the golden light of the sunset, looking like a literal goddess. Chuyi is completely mesmerized, barely even noticing the flowers around them as she stares at her friend. "Wow, it really is beautiful," she whispers, though we all know she isn't just talking about the scenery. Even the rest of the group has to admit that the exhausting climb was actually worth it for a view like this. Xinyu turns to Chuyi with a soft smile, asking if the trip was a waste after all. The girls decide to make wishes on the sunset, with one wishing for their group to become world-class idols and another just hoping to get into grad school. One of the juniors wants international recognition, making Chuyi realize just how ambitious her friends really are. When she asks Xinyu what she wants, Xinyu keeps it cool and mysterious. "I'm not going out into the world," she says. "I'll just stand here and wait for the world to come to me." Chuyi pokes her playfully, calling her the most ambitious one of them all. "Then what's your wish?" Xinyu asks, turning the question back on her. Chuyi takes a moment to think, then shouts her wish to the heavens. "I hope this variety show makes lots and lots of profit." The whole group bursts out laughing, calling her the ultimate sponsor mama. But the peaceful moment is shattered when the director suddenly teleports back into the frame with a new task. The girls look like they're about to cry, begging for a break because their legs feel like lead. The director doesn't have a heart though, pointing out that it's getting dark. Their first task, start a fire because the production team forgot to bring lights. Chuyi immediately whips out a flashlight, thinking she's outsmarted him. But the director just smiles and explains that the fire isn't just for light. It's for roasting the chickens they're supposed to eat for dinner. Oh, and as a bonus, they have to set up their own tents for the night. He drops off 5 chickens and 3 tents, telling them to figure it out. The girls stare at the piles of equipment in horror. "How are we supposed to set up a tent? Please teach us." One cries out, but the director just points to an instruction manual and forbids the groups from helping each other, while the others struggle to even read the manual. Xinyu steps up to take charge. She tells Chuyi not to worry and offers to handle the complicated tent setup herself. But just as things are looking up, Chuyi's pocket starts buzzing. She pulls out her phone and her face immediately goes pale. Whatever she's seeing on that screen is definitely not good news. Xinyu notices the change in her expression instantly, leaning in with a worried look. "What's wrong?" she asks, but judging by the look on Chuyi's face, the drama is only just beginning.